I am so pleased to have with me someone that can really help us parents that have older children, teens and young adults, navigate that terrain because the relationship definitely changes the way that you engage with them. And so I have someone here that's going to help us with that. And she is Sara Deacon, the adulting coach. She is a professional speaker and teen mentor who mentors young people to design their own lives based on who they are and not other people's expectations. And that includes us. By day, she helps young adults define themselves and craft their own path to success. She brings humor and fresh perspectives, and she encourages self-discovery, self-discipline, and independence. By night, she channels her energy into martial arts. That was something I used to do, using it to inspire and build confidence in others. Her unique approach, balancing discipline and creativity, offers space to breathe and untangle life's chaos. Driven by authenticity, courage, and connection, adulting can be fun. She literally will do karate in the garage with you if that's what it takes to light your inner fire and own your future like a boss. She's created a captivating exploration of the quest for identity, purpose, and belonging that connects audiences of all ages. So our conversation is going to dive into the heart of why your teen might not have their life figured out just yet and why that's perfectly okay. And Sara will guide parents to see how uncertainty is a great opportunity for personal growth and self-discovery for their teen and young adult children. So we're going to learn how to cultivate courage and empower our emerging adults to make confident decisions about their next steps so that they can experience their ideal future right now. So thank you so much for sitting down with me today, Sara.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Carol. That was I liked hearing that because it's been a while since I sent you that information, and I was like, oh yeah, I do all those things.
That's right. You've got to own your magnificence here. So let's dive in. In your experience, what would you say is the number one reason that some people do struggle to fully mature or grow up?
Oh, I love talking about this because I see it a lot in adults, and maybe you've experienced this too, and maybe you have people in your life or your family who complain a lot and never seem to take responsibility for their own choices. Maybe they play the blame game and, oh, well, if it weren't for that thing, then I would be doing something else, or I would be so much better off if only that one boss just wouldn't get on my case all the time. And it's never their fault. It's always somebody else's fault. So that's something that I see a lot with people. And the number one reason I think that people never grow up is because they give their power away to these other people.
Yes.
They let someone else define who they are and what they're capable of, instead of turning inward and really looking at what am I capable of, and what do I have, and how can I be the person that I really want to be? And who is that?
Right.
We don't
and
ask ourselves that question.
Right. And that's really quite a journey, because as you were describing some of the behaviors and tendencies, I was like, I know full grown people in my life where I've had to deal with that. I mean, and I'm not even talking about my two young adult sons. So I totally understand that. And it really, if we can help our young people master that, they won't get so far in their lives not understanding how to, really not growing up, basically.
Right. And they're already looking for it in this time. And, late teens, early 20s, they're really trying on a bunch of different identities. They're searching for it. They want to know who they are and what they're capable of.
And so what does it look like when they haven't, like young people, I'm shifting to, back to that. So how does it impact their lives when they just aren't able, and the lives of people around them when they just aren't able to step up and in this crucial time?
Well, there are several different ways. Some of the parents that come to me are talking about their children who maybe go away to college for a semester, a year, and it's too much for whatever reason, and they come back because they haven't laid those foundations of who am I, what serves me, what will help me, what do I need, and where do I really want to go? And they don't have that internal motivation because they've just been doing what they've been told to do. Get good grades, go to college, pick a major, and then suddenly they're out on their own without some of the support that they had come to rely on. And it's too much. It's overwhelming. They can't make a decision. They might fail classes. They might fall into bad behaviors with friends or peers. There's a lot of different ways that can show up when they haven't internalized their own goals and their own identity inside them, for themselves.
Absolutely. And that growth, it really is an inside job. They certainly can have help, and there's certainly things that we as parents need to do externally to help them. But yes, you hit on something very important there. And also something else that arose for me when you were talking about it is just the fear and overwhelm that can come into play when they get out on their own, whether it's college or maybe moving out and working. When they don't have that safety net that they relied on a little bit too much. So could you identify the 3 core fears, I know you talk about this, that you believe most inhibit personal growth, and just how they present themselves in our young people's daily lives?
Yeah, the way I see it, there are these 3 fears, and the different branching off of fears that we can come up with in our mind. I'm afraid of this, that, the other thing. It comes down to, I like to simplify things. So it comes down to the 3 that I've distilled. And the number 1 is the one we all know, the fear of failure. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want, people to judge me. I don't want this to be the end of the world and have no options left, right? The fear of failure, that's real, that's huge. The flip side of that coin is the fear of success. What will be expected of me once I achieve what I say I want to achieve? So that can lead to things like self-sabotage, high anxiety, I'm working for that, but that blame game we were talking about earlier. So-and-so is standing in my way. That teacher has it out for me. And that's why I'm not meeting my goals. It's not because I'm maybe really afraid of getting to that next level and what I'll have to do or be to succeed at that level. So there's that fear of success, which sometimes comes back to the fear of failure, looking stupid at the next level, right? Then the third one I see is just the fear of change and the unknown. You don't know what you don't know. So let's stay where it's comfortable. Let's stay with what I know, even if it's not necessarily what I want. It's good enough, and I can learn to live with it. And that tends to hold back, but also lead to some of that underlying anxiety where you've got more in you. You've been told all your life you have this kind of potential or these certain strengths. And if you're not actually stepping into them and living up to them, that causes some anxiety, lack of confidence, which again can show up in different ways, similar to what we've already talked about.
Right. So what are some practical steps parents can take then with their young adults to face these fears head on and overcome them?
The first really practical piece is bringing awareness to them. Are we afraid of failing? Are we afraid of succeeding? Are we afraid of something new? And I get a lot of conversation around like simple things like making my own doctor appointment, right? If you have a 17 or 18-year-old, they've never done that before.
Right.
It's terrifying because that's fear number 3, the fear of the unknown. And also like, what are they going to think of me? They're going to think I'm stupid because I don't know what I'm doing. And just simple things like this are ways that we can build up the courage and confidence in the unknown. Sit down with your son or daughter and say, hey, guess what? You need to make this appointment for whatever it might be, a job interview or a driver's test or whatever it is. You're going to make the phone call and I'll sit here with you. And we'll do it on speakerphone and we'll do it together. And then they start to see oh, that person on the other end of the phone is actually here to help me. They were so nice. Why was I afraid of it? And
Mm-hmm.
the more little things like that that we can do and kind of move from bulldozing things out of the way for our kids and move to more standing beside them and
Mm-hmm.
walking alongside and with them through these processes where there might be those fears coming up,
Mm-hmm.
then the more they see that they can handle it,
Right.
even when you're not going to be there. It's like holding on to the back seat of the bicycle, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Sure.
running along back, and they trust that you're there and they know you'll have them and pick them up when they fall.
Right.
This is just a little bit at a higher level and not so physical. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to
Mm-hmm.
run as hard.
Right, right. And so what are you hearing like in terms of when young people that that you've worked with or parents that you've helped to guide their children, when they're able to confront these fears directly, how has that helped them personally and professionally even?
Oh, I have stories. I was talking to one young man, and there was just like this conviction that there was nothing he could offer to
Mm,
be a successful person, and like the expectations from the teachers or parents might have been, well, you have to do things a certain way, you have to make a choice, you have to know more. I don't know. And when I was talking to him, I just kept asking, like, well, what classes do you like? Oh, I don't like any classes. Okay,
mm,
are you in any activities or sports? No, I don't do sports. Any activities? No. Have you ever liked a class you've been in? Not really.
oh,
Oh my gosh. It was a time. And I kept digging because he didn't run away. So he was
right.
still with me, right? And so we kept going, and it turned out he actually socially played role-playing games, like Dungeons and Dragons,
Hmm.
the tabletop old school. I used to do this too. So
Okay.
I connected the dots, and I'm like, look, you're doing that and you enjoy that. And here's what you're learning that are practical skills that can translate into your real life.
Hmm.
So no one had ever really made that connection. And I think that's the biggest piece that we can do as parents and as mentors and guides for young people, even if you don't have a teen in the house right now or just yet,
Hmm.
is connect those dots.
Hmm.
Okay, you really like playing video games or you really like playing Dungeons and Dragons. Here are some of the skills that you're developing by doing that.
Hmm.
The gaming, it's leadership, it's team building, it's psychology, it's imagination, creative problem solving, math and statistics, because some of those attributes you really have to kind of add up and figure out where you want to put your strengths. So
Okay.
there's all these moving pieces in a game like that I was able to point out,
Hmm.
to which, he's coming up to me with his head down and like
Hmm.
shoulders hunched. And by the time we were kind of done unpacking that, the shoulders were lower. There was
Mm,
much more eye contact. He was repeating back to me some of the connections that I had described,
hmm. Hmm.
and walked away feeling like had language for
Right.
what he could look into and develop as far as his own strengths. So
Hmm.
it's that those little ways of making the connections in order
Hmm.
to build the confidence so that they
Hmm.
can check back in on those things and say, oh yeah, that is something I really like about myself.
Hmm.
And that is that has practical applications for my future.
Right, right. And that
That's
process
it.
that you described was very affirming
Yeah.
of him as well. And so that's really good as well, because I know
We
that
all have something.
exactly. And another thing that I noticed, particularly with younger children, I guess it's true with older ones too, but they don't always own what they already know or the skills they already have. They're thinking about the next
Oh,
thing that they see somebody doing that they
the
don't know how
comparison,
how to do.
Yeah, the comparison to the online, the social media, their friends,
Oh,
peers, family members. Oh, that is so, so real.
I'm so glad. I'm honestly so thankful that I didn't grow up with that. I'm sorry.
Me too.
I have
I'm with you, Carol.
I have to say, I mean, obviously maybe I didn't have the same information resources that these children have, the most current and up-to-date
Oh, for sure.
information versus, the old encyclopedias and all that other stuff.
Right. It's a
But
tool and there's
but it's
definitely
just
pros to it.
but that part about looking at what other people are doing and measuring my life against it, I'm thankful that I did not have that in my life. And
It's hard enough without it. And then
right.
add it into the mix.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're dealing with things we never had to. So
Right.
it's a new ball game for all of us.
Right. And learning how to use it's not going anywhere. And as you said, it certainly can be useful and be a tool. It can also be entertaining, which I call a toy, but we just can't let it become a tyrant in our lives. We have
Oh, I
to,
like that.
decide how we're going to leverage technology. I talk with parents a lot about that in when I talk about parenting in the digital age, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
yes. Now I
Amen to
know.
that.
So I know in your work, you talk a lot about resilience and actually just the idea of becoming comfortable with imperfection. So talk more about that idea and why you believe it's so important for personal growth.
Oh, where to start with that? There's, if you look at the most successful people in the world, whoever that is, if it's
Mhm.
Mr. Beast or if it's Jeff Bezos or whoever,
Mhm.
Elon Musk, whatever wherever your, ideals are, if you look at these successful people and they all have something to teach us,
Mhm.
if you look at what they do, they make so many mistakes
Mhm.
that they're constantly growing and learning from those mistakes. It's a huge part of learning. And I really am a huge advocate for allowing and encouraging and celebrating mistakes
Mhm.
early on, even way before the teen years, if you're not there yet. That's
Mhm.
celebrate mistakes. How did you mess up today? What did you learn?
Mhm.
And having it be just a normal conversation so that we are not so afraid.
Mhm.
Because I firmly believe that taking action and trying something is
Mhm.
better than sitting still and staying afraid.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean you have to go jump out of a plane. Like, it doesn't have to be something big and
Mhm.
terrifying.
Mhm.
Again, can you talk to somebody that you've been curious about? Can you say
Mhm.
hello?
Mhm.
Can you give a friend a compliment that you might not otherwise voice out loud because you're afraid that they'll take it the wrong way?
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, how good does it feel to get a compliment? If we look at ourselves,
Right.
a very, very low barrier to entry to making mistakes. If you
Mhm.
don't say the right words when you give a compliment, are they going to forget that you were trying to give them a compliment? Probably not.
Mhm.
And just sort of training ourselves, giving ourselves the practice. I say practice imperfect.
Right.
Say to yourself, I might mess this up. And what I'm trying to do is more important than how I look doing it.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't agree more with you about that. And I think that's really why it's so important to expose young children to experiences and teach them how to do new things. Because when they're younger, especially really little ones, they're not as self-conscious about messing up or
Right.
making the mistakes and all of that stuff. They just want to have their hands in their hands in the process and feel like they're helping. And of course, you can refine their skills
Right.
as you go along, but that's a great time to use that energy that they have to be involved and to contribute and to help. And
Yes.
you start at any time, but that's a great time. And because as they get to the tween years and certainly the teen years, then it's like, well, they care about how they look and the impression that people will have about them for, not knowing certain things or not knowing how to do
Right.
things, and looking silly or looking foolish because they haven't quite mastered something. So
Yeah, but if
really,
you've made a practice of it beforehand, of celebrating the mistakes and celebrating the learning and celebrating the process more than the outcome, if you've already laid that foundation for them, then yes, it's going to dip in
right.
those tween and teen years, because it's just how we are and how our social things work.
Yeah, it sounds like it's about instilling that growth mindset, like,
Mhm.
knowing that I'm learning this, or I don't, or if, I don't know how to do this yet.
Yes.
Just seeing the possibility that you
And
can learn.
modeling it and
Yes.
modeling it yourself, because so many of us, we focus on the negative. What went wrong? How did
Mm-hmm.
I embarrass myself? What did I
Mm-hmm.
mess up? And are they
Mm-hmm.
going to fire me? Because, and we do that. Or even just day-to-day stuff. Oh, that person on the road cut me off and they're a so and so, or why won't they move their cart in the grocery aisle? Can't they see I need to get by? Like, we focus on that negative stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if we start to even train ourselves as
Mm-hmm.
we're training our children to be good finders, find the
Yes, good
good.
finders. I like that.
What is
Mm-hmm.
going on that's good? Be a good finder,
Mm-hmm.
and celebrate that. You fought with your brother, and I really saw you trying to connect and
Mm-hmm.
trying to apologize. That's amazing. And find what went right, even in the worst situation.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
actually went right? How are you proud of yourself about how you controlled your temper, or how you made the most of it, or how you saw the good in a situation, or how you recovered from it? Whatever that might be. I think finding good is just such a needed skill in our very interesting times.
Yes. And it's very tempting sometimes for us as parents, like when we see our children doing the right thing, like say, for example, as you said, they're getting along, we
Mhm.
forget to verbalize it. We breathe the
We're
sigh of
afraid it's
relief.
going to stop.
Right. We breathe the sigh of
You're going to
relief
jinx
that
it.
there's peace. Right. But that verbalizing, that also gets back into the ownership that the children can take for having done whatever. You're giving them specific feedback. You're saying, I like the way you shared today. You played the game, you found a way to build the tower together. It was really creative. But you're planting seeds, you're giving them language, and
Mhm.
you're just giving them feedback that they can own. And then it doesn't take away from that if the
Yeah.
next minute they've made a mistake,
Right.
because you've
And they,
because you've acknowledged what was good. You found the good in something they had done previously. They don't have to feel like I'm just no good.
that it's the end of the world, or that it
Right.
becomes their identity when they're punished for something, or when they get a natural consequence. But they say something like it takes 5 to 7 good things to outweigh one negative comment.
Yes.
I can't remember where
I've
that
seen
came
that
from, but
too. Mm-hmm.
it's sort of a common knowledge thing at this point. And when they can associate their identity with more of those things, of being, a problem solver, or a creative person who expresses themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or those things. I'm really focused when I am involved with whatever, like pouring into that focus, that courage, that problem solving ability, that connection. Oh, you were a really good friend, the
Mm-hmm.
kindness, all those things that we want for our children,
Mm-hmm.
especially tweens and teens.
Mm-hmm.
You start trying to really get them to step up and make corrections, or curb bad behavior, and they can feel like all you do is nag them, or get
Mm-hmm.
on their case, or try to change them into somebody that they're
They're
not.
not. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And And even if it's not intended that way, again, a little thing like, oh, your room is such a mess, they hear as, I'm a slob and I'll never be anything else.
Right.
So I might as well just embrace it.
Yes.
So it is changing. We have to change ourselves to it at a certain extent to be that model of how we want to. And that's, I think, the beautiful thing about raising children is that they have taught me and helped me become so much more than I might have done in another way. And I can't say what would have happened without my kids, but
Right.
the gift they've really given me is that awareness of, oh, they do what I do, so
Right.
I
Right.
better do right.
Right, right. I mean, parenting is definitely a growth experience. It really is. And, it's not, you don't have to have children to grow, but it is a growth experience
Absolutely.
for sure. So I've seen you talk about, the importance of identifying key collaborators in your child's success. So talk about that. Who do you feel are the potential key collaborators in a young person's success?
Well, that's kind of like what we were just talking about. The people who are just ahead of our kids, who are modeling what we want them to see, do, have, and be in their lives. And, when they're babies, we are much more of a part in creating that community and enlisting that village, so to speak, of collaborators, of mentors and influences on our kids. Now it's, like we said, with social media, it's equipping them with the language and ability to filter what is serving me and what's not. How do I feel when I interact with this platform or with this influencer or with this YouTube video or this type of thing? And again, reflecting and evaluating alongside with them. Well, how does that make you feel? And it seems like you're a little bit more on edge because you've been spending a lot of time in this game or in this online community or with those friends, and equipping them with the tools to evaluate. Because it doesn't matter if it's a peer, a mentor, a coach, a teacher, a parent, another family member, a sibling. It doesn't really matter who specifically the person is. It's how are they making you feel? Are they helping you grow? Are they making you feel like you can't? Are they giving you a lot of, I like to say, are they shoulding on you for no reason? Are they telling you, you should this, you should that, you should this other thing, but it's not for your growth, it's for their own reasons.
Right. I like that. And teaching young people to really recognize that in themselves, like to take stock of how they feel when they're around certain people. And, it can be their friends or, others, or it could be adults in different settings. It's nice for them to really take that reading and understand these situations make me feel affirmed and positive and optimistic.
Right,
And
because
these
there
don't.
can be people that challenge you and maybe make you mad. I have definitely have those moments where people challenge me and make me mad because I don't want to hear what they have to say, but I know that they have my best interest at heart and they can see things that I can't see.
Yes.
And that's why having someone neutral that may not be a parent, because let's be real, they don't always hear us.
Right.
Uncle Fred can tell them the same thing that I've told them 100 times, and they will listen to Uncle Fred the first time because he is not mom.
Right. Yes, that's
So
definitely true.
they definitely benefit from that neutral perspective. Someone who is there just for them, who can see what they can't see, who can maybe even see what their own parents can't see, what their teachers and coaches only get a piece of. Somebody to kind of step back and see the big picture. Sometimes that's friends, sometimes it's a sibling, a relative, sometimes it is the parents, and they are open and receptive to that. And it's really valuable, and that's why I have really felt like I have found a great place because I get to be that, and I get to be on the parents team, on the teens team, and they really see that we are all in it for the good of sending out those ripples of positivity and productivity and success and happiness and joy and fun into the world that can drag us down and be so serious sometimes.
Right.
So when we all are working together, like I say, that the team you build, your super success team, or however you want to put it, the people you surround yourself matter so much, because we are designed to be connected with each other and help each other. And when one of us wins, we all win.
Right. And it's, once they start that with their parents and, with that collaboration and trusted people in the circle, coaches, teachers, or in relatives, because you did mention that too. And that can certainly be the case. Then they kind of get the blueprint for the kind of village they need to create as they get older. And even when they, if they get married and have their own families, what kind of people do I want around my family? Like, they'll realize the importance of, as you said, the people you spend time with, the people that you have in your life, and the way they make you feel, and the way you interact with them, the impact that you have on their lives too. So
we do a lot of communication work with my clients, because I do talk to parents. As well as connecting with the teens. And it's about building that bridge of, well, they're saying one thing and I'm hearing another thing, or I'm hearing this, and well, no, that's not what I said. So it is becoming clear about, we are on the same team. How can we get to understanding and collaboration and all of the beautiful things that we want to create?
Yes. Now, one big thing about adulting is decision making. And so let's talk about that. You advocate for designing an aligned path forward. So can you elaborate on what that means, and how does that help eliminate indecision?
One of the things, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, was, they go off and start a life that doesn't go well, and they end up coming back in and living with mom and dad. Right? That happens. And sometimes it happens intentionally and as part of a plan. Most of the time it doesn't. So the idea is, with knowing who you are, that comes knowing what you value. So it's, again, another evaluation tool, self-evaluation, assessment. It's not as academic when I do it with my clients. Some coaches will do the personality tests and strengths and a lot of different things, which has its place. I just don't roll that way. I need it really super simple. So we will maybe do a exercise where we come up with the core values, your personal core values, and take a look at, well, how are they showing up in the people you surround yourself with? How are you displaying your own core values as behaviors? How are you acting them and living them out? And if it's something you really value and you're not getting it from somebody else or from outside yourself, how can you provide that for yourself? So there's different, that's one, fairly quick exercise is identifying some of those, what they are, and then how it shows up in those different ways. And another tool I use is a tool called the passion test, which is an exercise, is a system for going through and identifying and prioritizing your top 5 passions in your life right now. And passions change as our lives change. The things we value change. And this tool equips them to be able to move and identify and reevaluate at different periods. So that's something I do in our initial intensive call, a bigger call at the beginning of my program, where we go through the passion test process. So we can call back to it and say, okay, you're faced with this decision. How does it actually fit in with those things that you want in your life, those passions that they design for themselves. So it again gives them that ability to self-reflect and filter those options through that identity. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I value. So we do passion tests and core values work. Those are some of the key points that I do in my coaching. And there are, of course, other ways that we talk about things, again, making those connections like we talked about earlier.
And so how can parents guide their children in that process without, imposing their own ideas, expectations, unfulfilled dreams, you name it, onto their, young adults or teen even?
They might not like my answer.
Well, we want to hear it.
The first thing is doing your own work.
Yes.
Assess yourself. Are you in a position to not put your stuff onto them?
Okay.
And it's okay if you're not there yet. That's okay. Right? We're all in this together, and it's okay to be honest. I'm, with your kids saying, I'm really trying to support you. I'm not sure how.
Right.
It's okay to invite them into the conversation. They are becoming mature enough. Even my kids, when they were younger, were able to sometimes articulate exactly what they needed from me in a certain, in a given moment. So be okay if you don't know all the things.
Okay.
That's number one. And then it comes down to curiosity and a willingness to listen. And really listen to what they're saying.
Right.
Curious openness.
Yes. So how can parents guide their children in the process without imposing, our own ideas, our expectations, and kind of, trying to live vicariously through our children and having them meet our unfulfilled expectations and dreams? How can we do that?
Most of us don't always realize that we're doing that. So do your own work. You might not like that answer, but like we were just talking about, being able to model what we want for our kids, that's where our growth happens too. So that's the bonus. We get to do this work on ourselves because we want our children to go into the world and be successful. So that is the first thing, is be able to self-reflect for your own growth. Take a look. Am I doing that? Am I putting my stuff on them?
Right.
And be willing to let that go. Be open and curious when you ask questions, instead of just trying to lead them to the answer you want to get from them. Go in generally with openness, curiosity, and the desire to understand. And then just close the mouth, listen, listen really with heart, with openness, with the desire to actually just connect and understand your kids, because they are becoming these beautiful, brilliant humans who are going to go out and make powerful impacts on the world. And of course, we want them to be positive impacts. So rally around them, be their biggest cheerleader, never stop telling them how much you love them, make it weird. It's okay. They might put you away. Never stop.
Right. I like that. That's an important piece too. Even though they may tell you they don't want that stuff, they do. They do want that affirmation. They want that love and validation. So I like that you included that. So I appreciate everything that you've shared so far. How can we follow your work?
Well, I am my main page is my website, saradeacon.com. That's Sara with no H, DEACON.com. So that is my main webpage. There's many ways to get in touch with me over there. And on social media, I am at Sara Deacon Coach on all the platforms. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all of the ones. So wherever you are on social media, you can probably find me. And I often use the hashtag adulting is fun. So play with me, use the hashtag adulting is fun, because that is what I want it to be. And I am creating it and helping others create that too.
I like that. I like that. And I understand you have something to offer our attendees. What is that?
I do. I just created this fantastic guide that just goes with so much of what we've been discussing, Carol. It is called the Teen Talk Tactics Guide.
Okay.
And it's a conversation starter guide. So there's, I don't know, a dozen or so conversation prompts for sort of each level of entry. The everyday conversations, going a little bit more deep with connection and building relationship. And then to the more challenging topics that might come up. So I think it's a really beautiful guide, and it's an opportunity to, again, reevaluate and imagine and create this awesome relationship that we want to have with our kids as they become adults. Because the phrase "we only get them for 18 years," like, that's not true. Like, 18 years is just the beginning. We get them for the rest of their lives. And if we want to have that adult relationship with them where we are building this connected family who is positive, encouraging, supportive, has each other's back, that starts here. That starts when they ask us questions and we answer them, and we are honest, and we are doing what we can to be present, to stay connected, and to build up this relationship. So I'm really excited about that guide. And that is I'll make sure that the link is available to you. I'll say it. It's sarahdeacon.com/teen-talk-tactics-opt-in. And I might try and shorten that for other purposes, but that is the page where you can sign up and get that guide.
That sounds great. And we will definitely include the link here with the video to make sure that they are able to get that. I think it's going to be very valuable. And Sara, I have thoroughly enjoyed talking with you today. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And I pray you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Carol. It was a pleasure.